Welcome to Dreamy Tales, where the magic of stories meets the tranquility of sleep. I'm Sarah, and tonight, I invite you to let go of the day's worries and join me on a peaceful journey to the land of dreams. Find a comfortable spot, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to drift away as we explore a tale designed to soothe your mind and calm your soul. Relax, unwind, and let's begin. In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills, there stood an old, forgotten garden behind tall stone walls. For years, it had remained hidden from the villagers, overgrown with wild vines and shadowed by towering trees. No one knew who had planted the flowers or tended to the garden, and over time, it became a place few cared to remember. To most, it was just a relic of the past, its mystery sealed behind a rusted iron gate. But to Mira, a curious and imaginative young girl, the garden had always seemed like a place of wonder. From her bedroom window, she could just glimpse the tops of the stone walls, where ivy crept over the edges like emerald fingers. Every night, as the moonlight bathed the village in a soft, silvery glow, it also spilled over the walls of the garden, casting long shadows and making the leaves and vines shimmer like something magical. Mira often wondered what secrets lay behind that old gate. Her mind filled with possibilities. Perhaps the garden was enchanted, or maybe it held treasures long forgotten by time. She had dreamed of exploring it for as long as she could remember, but the gate had always been locked, and no one in the village seemed to know or care about the garden anymore. One warm summer evening, when the air was still and the stars began to twinkle in the deepening sky, Mira decided that it was time to satisfy her curiosity. Armed with nothing but a small lantern and her adventurous spirit, she slipped out of her house and made her way through the quiet village streets. Her footsteps were soft against the cobblestones, and her heart raced with excitement as she approached the garden gate. To her surprise, when she reached the gate, she found it slightly ajar. It had never been opened before, and for a moment, Mira hesitated. Had someone else been there? Was the garden truly abandoned? But the curiosity that had built up over the years won out, and with a gentle push, she swung the gate open. It creaked on its hinges, the sound echoing softly in the still night. Mira stepped inside, her lantern casting a soft, flickering glow around her. The garden was unlike anything she had ever imagined. Flowers, wild and untamed, bloomed in every direction, their petals shimmering in the moonlight. They were not the usual colors of flowers one might find in a village garden. Instead, their petals glowed in shades of silver, blue, and gold, as if they had been painted by the moon itself. Tall trees with silvery bark stood like ancient guardians, their branches swaying gently in the cool night breeze. The air was filled with the scent of jasmine and lavender, sweet and calming. Mira wandered deeper into the garden, marveling at the beauty around her. The garden seemed alive in a way that was different from the world outside. It felt as though every leaf, every petal, and every blade of grass was connected to something magical. The garden had been waiting for her, perhaps, or for someone to remember it. As she walked, Mira noticed something unusual. In the center of the garden stood a large fountain, its stone edges worn with age. Water trickled softly from its spout, glistening under the moonlight, and around the base of the fountain were small stone benches. It looked as though it had once been a place where people would gather to rest or admire the flowers, though now it was silent, except for the gentle sound of the water. But it wasn't the fountain that caught her attention, it was the small, glowing figure sitting on one of the benches. Mira blinked, unsure of what she was seeing. At first, she thought it might be a trick of the light or a reflection from the water. But as she drew closer, the figure became clearer. It was no taller than her hand, with delicate wings that sparkled in the moonlight like tiny stars. Its body was faintly translucent, shimmering with the same silvery light as the flowers. The figure was sitting cross-legged, looking up at the moon, as though deep in thought. Mira gasped softly. It was a fairy, there could be no doubt. She had heard tales of fairies in bedtime stories, but she had never truly believed they existed. Yet here, in this forgotten garden, one sat right before her eyes. The fairy looked up at Mira and smiled, its tiny eyes twinkling with mischief and kindness. "Hello," the fairy said, its voice as soft as the breeze. "I've been waiting for someone to find this place." Mira, her heart still racing, could hardly believe what she was hearing. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "My name is Luna," the fairy replied, standing up and fluttering her wings. "This is my home, the Moonlit Garden. Long ago, this place was filled with laughter and life, but over time, people forgot about it. They forgot the magic it held. But the garden has always remembered, and it has been waiting for someone like you to come and bring it back to life." "Bring it back to life?" Mira asked, glancing around at the glowing flowers and the shimmering trees. "But it already looks so alive." Luna shook her head, her wings glowing brighter for a moment. "The magic here is fading, Mira. Without people to tend to the garden and believe in its magic, it will soon wither away completely. But you can help. The garden has chosen you." Mira's eyes widened. "But how? What can I do?" Luna fluttered into the air, circling around the fountain before landing gently on one of the stone benches. "You must plant a new seed. A seed of hope, belief, and wonder. It will restore the garden's magic, but only if you believe in it." Mira nodded, determination filling her heart. "I'll do it. But where do I find this seed?" The fairy smiled and pointed to the ground near the fountain. "Dig there," she said softly. "The garden will give you what you need." Mira knelt down, using her hands to dig into the soft earth. After a few moments, she felt something small and smooth beneath her fingers. She pulled it from the ground, a tiny, glowing seed, warm to the touch and pulsing with a soft, magical light. "This is it," Luna whispered. "Plant it here, and the garden will be reborn." With gentle hands, Mira placed the seed into the earth, covering it with soil. As soon as the seed was planted, a soft breeze swept through the garden, rustling the leaves and making the flowers sway. The moonlight seemed to grow brighter, and Mira watched in awe as the garden responded to the seed's magic. The flowers glowed more brilliantly, their petals unfurling as if greeting the night sky. The trees seemed to stretch taller, their branches reaching toward the stars. The fountain's water sparkled, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers. "You've done it," Luna said, her voice filled with gratitude. "The garden is alive again, thanks to you." Mira stood up, her heart full of joy. She looked around at the transformed garden, knowing she had been a part of something truly magical. As the breeze gently swirled around her, carrying the scent of flowers and the soft hum of the fountain, she realized that the moonlit garden would always be a place of wonder, a secret shared between her and the magic of the night. From that night on, Mira visited the garden often, tending to the flowers and enjoying the peaceful beauty that only the moonlight could reveal. And though the villagers still walked past the old stone walls without a second thought, Mira knew the truth, that beyond those walls lay a world of magic, where the moonlit flowers bloomed, and the fairies danced in the night,